Dil Durian is a comedy Punjabi movie, which begins in the rustic charms of a small village in Punjab, India. In a big ground, the stage is set for a monthly spectacle that pulses with tradition and excitement. A sprawling ground teems with eager spectators, their anticipation palpable as they await the clash of wooden sticks in a spirited contest unlike any other. 2 men against 6. The match begins. Crowd cheers for their candidate, everyone enjoying the show. The 2 men in the middle are overpowered and thrown to the ground, but when the opposing 6 begin celebrating, the fallen rise. As the fierce battle unfolds, a breathtaking twist unfurls before the astonished onlookers. It is revealed that one of the 2 persons in the middle is not a man, but a girl, the protagonist of our story, Polly. With unwavering determination, Polly and her father, Sidhu, surge forth, their bond unbreakable as they face down their adversaries. In a crescendo of triumph, they emerge victorious once more, their victory a testament to courage and unity. As they receive their award, a man from the opposing team underscores the importance of gender equality. Undeterred, Sidhu's embrace of his daughter speaks volumes, a poignant rebuttal to those who would seek to diminish her worth. On their way back home, on a tractor, she offers him a letter, the latest in a string of unexpected, yet amusing marriage proposals. They share a hearty laugh, the letter fluttering like a comical footnote to their day's victory. Yet, beneath the laughter, there's an unspoken acknowledgement of change on the horizon. Polly is set to leave for Chandigarh the next day, her sights set on conquering an English exam and broadening her horizons far beyond the village borders. The next day carries a bittersweet air as he drops her off at the bus station, and she leaves for her journey to another city, her heart heavy yet hopeful. As the bus cuts through the countryside, a ticket collector attempts to charm her with his best lines, only to be met with Polly's signature, no-nonsense demeanor that swiftly keeps him at a respectable distance. The journey takes a turn for the unexpected, when not even halfway through, Parvan, a young man with mischief in his eyes, makes a dramatic entrance onto the bus while fleeing unseen trouble. He finds his seat right beside Polly, who initially ignores the curious newcomer. However, fate nudges them together when Polly reaches for her wallet, only to find she's short on change for her ticket. Seizing the moment, Parvan steps in to cover the cost, suggesting she could repay him once they reach Chandigarh. Unbeknownst to Polly, their paths to the city aren't just coincidental. Fate has something special in store for them. The journey to Chandigarh is momentarily paused as the bus halts at a roadside rest stop, allowing everyone a chance to stretch and breathe in the fresh air. It's during this break that Polly decides to settle her debt with Parvan. However, in a theatrical flourish, Parvan drops to his knees, playfully declaring his desire to pay for her tickets for life, all the while praising the captivating beauty of her eyes. He flirts with her, and Polly rolls her eyes, labeling him a nut job before striding away. But bewitched by her beauty, he keeps following her, and in a bold attempt, hugs her. Polly wakes up with a start, her scream slicing through the bus's hum. Turns out it was all a vivid dream. The bus stops at her scream, and the collector, misinterpreting the scene, accuses Parvan of causing her distress. Polly quickly intervenes, her voice firm as she tells the collector to focus on his own duties, sparing Parvan any blame. But after this incident, Parvan retreats, opting not to reclaim the seat beside her. As the bus resumes its journey, the air thick with tension and unsaid thoughts, both Polly and Parvan sit apart, each lost in their reflections of the unexpected and surreal interlude that unfolded between them. Later, when the bus actually stops for a break, Polly steps down, hoping to savor a cup of tea, only to find herself once again short on change. Like a recurring motif, Parvan steps in, purchasing the tea for her, and in a gesture of goodwill, she offers him some of her homemade lunch. His smile bridges the gap between them, easing earlier tensions. When the bus leaves once again, Polly chooses the freedom of the bus roof over its interior, with Parvan quickly joining her. While sitting together, they engage in small talk, and that is when she asks about the men who were following him earlier. Turns out he was engaged to her cousin, but she told her that she likes someone else and asked him to go reject her proposal, and that is why his family is running after him, demanding the reason for his rejection. During this, she shares the dream she had earlier. Their laughter mingles with the passing wind, and they exchange bubble gums, sealing a newfound friendship amidst chuckles and shared secrets. Finally, amidst laughter, they reach Chandigarh, their journey marked by heartfelt smiles and an exchange of debts settled. They part ways at the station, their lives momentarily intertwined by the journey. Later that night, Polly recounts the day's adventures to her father, painting Parvan as the noble stranger in her tale. Parvan, on the other side, admits to his friends that he is in love, but one of his friends, Scutri, tells him that it seems impossible to make her fall in love with him. Despite the doubts cast by his friend, Parvan's thoughts linger on Polly, hopeful and stirred by the unexpected emotions she has awakened in him. As the sun rises, casting golden hues over a new day, Pardhan, Parvan's friend, can be seen flirting with his girlfriend on the phone. Meanwhile, Parvan is on a mission, consumed by his attempts to reconnect with Polly. After hitting a wall and acquiring her contact details, he rallies his friends for a quest to locate the educational institute where Polly has enrolled. The scene then switches to Polly, who is navigating her first day at the institute. Her introduction to academic life quickly takes a turn when a fellow student attempts to charm her with his singing skills. Unimpressed and unwavering, Polly sternly warns him to keep his distance, effectively silencing his advances. But the twist in the tale comes when the collector from the bus also joins the classes after her. Annoyed, as she exits the classroom, Parvan spots her from across the campus. His face lights up with a joyous smile, confirming he's found her. Upon the confirmation that he has found the right institute, he dashes inside to register for the class, even paying double the fee to ensure he shares the classroom with her. As he is paying for the course, Polly catches sight of him. Parvan tries to brush it off as a mere coincidence, but their conversation is abruptly cut short by the unwanted attentions of her two would-be suitors, the singer and the collector, who try to lay a claim on her. But with a protective fierceness, Parvan confronts them, sternly warning them to respect her space. As the others leave, Polly, not swayed by this display of chivalry, confronts Parvan, accusing him of orchestrating his enrollment as part of a plan to get closer to her. Parvan, caught off guard and hurt by her accusations, plays the victim, claiming that his intentions were purely to safeguard her from the unwanted advances of others. With a mix of frustration and a feigned sense of hurt, he departs, leaving Polly to ponder the complexities of his motives. The next day, in class, tension simmers as the singer and the persistent ticket collector engage in a verbal duel, their bickering escalating until the teacher intervenes. The situation peaks when the singer, unable to resist his flirtatious nature, directs a compliment towards the teacher's appearance. This audacity earns him an immediate expulsion from the room, much to the class's shock. After some time, upon realizing yesterday's behavior, Polly gets up and sits down next to Parvan, extending an apology for her earlier accusations. Hence, they finally become friends, and by the end of the class, Parvan offers her a ride home, an offer she accepts, marking the start of their true friendship. After 20 days filled with laughter and shared moments, their friendship has blossomed. Yet, under the influence of his ever-enthusiastic friend Parvan, Parvan considers escalating their relationship. Scutri tries to warn him that this doesn't seem like a good idea, but he ignores him. Parvan rushes out to pick her up and brings flowers with him. However, before he can voice his feelings, Polly expresses her admiration for him. She says that he is not like other boys, who think that if a girl is talking to them, then they should propose to her. He is a gentleman, and she is thoroughly impressed, struck by her words and the realization that she values their friendship for its purity and respect. Parvan silently sets aside his romantic intentions. Their ride home is filled with a quiet understanding, a silence that speaks volumes about the depth of their respect for one another. This moment solidifies their bond, one not of fleeting romance, but of enduring friendship, built on mutual respect and genuine affection. Upon reaching the institute, she rushes up to the class, while he waits for his friends. Disheartened by his unspoken proposal, he shares his predicament with Scutri, who quickly devises a plan to test Polly's feelings. He suggests that Parvan should spark jealousy by flirting with another girl. Motivated by this strategy, Parvan embraces the idea with zeal. In class, breaking their usual routine, instead of sitting next to Polly, he sits across from her with another girl, Ammon. As he engages in light-hearted flirtation with Ammon, he notices Polly's perturbed glances, though she remains silent throughout the encounter, her annoyance palpable yet unvoiced. Later after class, Parvan sees Polly talking on phone with someone. Laughing, curiosity piqued, he inquiries about the person on the other end. With a coy smile, Polly hints at talking to someone special, further stirring the concoction of emotions brewing within Parvan. However, their conversation doesn't last long, because Ammon arrives and he offers to drop her home. Before taking her home, he takes her to a roadside stall for food. Just as Parvan begins to revel in his perceived success at making Polly jealous, his phone rings. It's Polly, her voice tinged with urgency, informing him she's lost her apartment keys. Believing his plan has ignited a spark of jealousy, Parvan abruptly apologizes to Ammon and rushes to assist Polly. Unable to break her lock, they decide to roam around the city to pass the time until they can find a locksmith in the morning. This is when she spots the bouquet of flowers on the back seat of his car. He lies that he bought it as a wedding gift, but was unable to attend the wedding. This sparks an idea in Polly's head, and they head to an uninvited wedding. Despite Parvan's protests about the ethics of their uninvited attendance, he is caught red-handed when his friends spot him there and rush towards him, coincidentally reveling in the festivities and commending the superior quality of the food compared to the last wedding they crashed. Laughing at the absurdity, Polly pulls him into the celebration. To make the full night out of the wedding, they start dancing along with the other guests, enjoying to the fullest. But the night takes a dramatic turn when they recognize the bride as none other than Pinky, Pardhan's girlfriend. Listening to their conversation and seeing the pain in the eyes of Pardhan, Polly halts the engagement, confronting Pinky in front of the crowd about her true feelings for Pardhan. The confrontation escalates quickly as Pinky's family, outraged, advances towards them. With quick thinking and a bit of luck, Polly and Parvan manage to escape, leaving behind a scene of chaos. Their adventurous night doesn't end there. On their way back from the wedding, they get stopped by the traffic police, inquiring about their travels. With no straightforward explanation for their disheveled appearances and late-night antics, Polly improvises brilliantly, claiming they are fiancés returning from a family event. Seeing her speak with such confidence, the police let them go. Exhausted, and with no place to go until morning, they find solace in Parvan's car, Polly on the back seat, and Parvan on the back of the car. Upon waking up the next morning, she comments that instead of sleeping outside in cold, he could have slept inside. But he smiles, saying that her respect matters to him, and he will never do anything that will raise fingers upon her character. He then drops her back home, and she invites him inside. Once inside, she thanks him, and in response he tries to confess his feelings, but is interrupted by a phone call from her fiancé. As the reality dawns upon him, he leaves her apartment, heartbroken. He then goes to visit his friends, who are admitted in the hospital after the fight last night. As Parvan tells them about Polly being engaged, Pardhan informs him that the spectacle last night may have caused him some bones, but now Pinky is not engaged. Upon knowing this, a hope sparks in his heart, and he embarks on a mission to end Polly's engagement. The next day, both of them can be seen in a temple praying. While Polly prays for the success in her test and thanks God for making her match with Sumer, Parvan begs God to break Polly's engagement. When a time for the exam comes, the collector and the singer beg the examiner to pass them in this test. But when it is Parvan's turn, his pathetic English and his pleas to stay with Polly annoy him, and he shouts at Parvan to leave. Once outside, he finds Polly waiting for him with a sad expression on her face. Thinking that her exam didn't go well, he tries to comfort her, but when he finds that the reason for her sadness is a fight between her and her fiancé Sumer, a smile breaks on Parvan's face, and he thanks God. Turns out Sumer is angry because she spent the night out of her home, and at this Parvan expresses how trust should be a cornerstone of any loving relationship, not a control mechanism. Polly nods, her resolve strengthening as she begins to question the viability of her engagement with Sumer. The next day, they once again go to the temple, and he thanks God for helping him. After 3 days of their fighting, she asks Parvan to pray to God for them, and half-heartedly he does. Later, when he finds out that Sumer is his relative, he tries to convince her that he is her brother by relation, but she ignores it. On the 4th day, Polly thinks about making the first move by calling Sumer and apologizing, but Parvan warns her not to. However, on the 5th day, Parvan's world crumbles when Polly reveals that Sumer has apologized and she plans to return home. Shockingly, she discloses her imminent departure to Auckland, where she and Sumer will marry in court before hosting a grand wedding in India. At the bus station, Polly expresses gratitude to Parvan for his kindness. He nods, but when he recognizes the ticket collector from before, Parvan decides to accompany Polly on her journey to ensure her safety. And it is on this ride he confesses his love, but Polly warns him to keep his distance, citing her father's staunch support for her engagement to Sumer. Undeterred, Parvan resolves to convince her father to reconsider and marry her to him instead. When she arrives in her village, her father can be seen waiting for her. Along with her little cousin Jeter, he welcomes her with a hug, taken aback by Parvan's presence with his daughter. But when she introduces him, her father smiles and invites him over to their place. To make an impression, Parvan refuses, saying that he just came to drop off Polly safely. But fate is against him, as her father agrees and says that Parvan should leave now. The father-daughter duo leaves, and he watches them go, dumbfounded. Jeter sits down with him to see him off. As the bus arrives, he boards, disheartened. The ticket collector makes fun of him, but he ignores him and sits down. Later that evening, the door at Polly's place knocks, and when her father opens it up, he is shocked to see Parvan on the other side. He makes an excuse that he wasn't able to catch the bus, but Jeter calls him a liar. Parvan is reluctantly invited inside, and his bed is made up on the roof for the night. The next morning, he is woken up by her cousin, with a splash of cold water on his face. He hands him a cold cup of tea and orders him to leave, or else he will miss his bus. But Parvan insists on meeting Mr. Sidhu one last time before departing and orders Jeter to go get him a hot cup of tea. He rushes downstairs and finds Polly washing clothes. He tries to engage in a conversation, but is once again interrupted by the little devil Jeter, who drags him away to meet her father one last time before leaving. In the fields, where Polly's father Mr. Sidhu is working, Jeter and Parvan arrive. He takes the old man's blessing, calls him dad with respect, and engages in conversation to delay his departure. Jeter tries to pull him once again, but he brushes away his arm in an excuse to help out around the house. Mr. Sidhu tries to stop him, calling him a brat born and raised in a city who would not be able to do this tough work. At this, Parvan comments that he is more of a village boy than his own son-in-law from Auckland. But Sidhu is not in a mood to listen to his nonsense and orders him to go work. Parvan gets to work, and this is when he spots Polly walking towards them. He compliments her beauty, but when Jeter tries to complain to Mr. Sidhu about Parvan's ill intentions, he clarifies that he wants a nice girl to marry and has asked for Polly's help in finding one. But before Mr. Sidhu can react, Polly informs them about their traditional competition and that she wishes to take part in one before leaving the country. Parvan wishes to take part in the competition this time, and Sidhu takes him with him, but fortunately for him, he gets injured. and this becomes the cause for his stay at her place for some more days. The next day, as he tours the village with her, he tentatively asks whether she would have chosen him if she wasn't engaged. But Polly gets furious and asks him to stop his act and leave. Later that evening, when Mr. Sidhu asks about Parvan, Jeter tells him that he has already left, and Polly's heart sinks. He then goes over to Polly, who is packing to leave for the airport, and tells her that she has always made him proud and he loves her. At the airport, she finds Parvan waiting for her. She is shocked upon seeing him, but it turns out that she accidentally texted him instead of Sumer, informing him about her plans. Hurt by her inadvertent confession, Parvan deletes his number and leaves, leaving Polly to grapple with her emotions. As Polly arrives in Auckland, Sumer and his family gives her a warm welcome, but the memories of her happy times with Parvan haunt her. On the other side of the world, Parvan roams the city, heartbroken. After a few days, Sumer takes Polly to a courthouse to legally get married, but when the time arrives for her to sign the papers, she hesitates and goes to make a call, dialing her father. She pours out her heart and confesses that even though Sumer is an amazing person, she has fallen for Parvan. But for her, her father is the most important person, and she would do whatever he will desire. But to her relief, he encourages her to come back home and follow her heart. Happily, she hangs up. But when she turns around, she's startled to find Sumer standing behind her. Struggling to explain, Polly finds solace in Sumer's understanding as he graciously offers to drive her to the airport. Back in India, Parvan can be seen working on his fields when Mr. Sidhu arrives with a proposal for him, urging Parvan to meet the prospective bride. Sidhu pushes him to consider a new path. He approaches the girl with intentions to decline, to tell her that he can't do this because of his love for someone else. But when she turns around, Parvan is surprised to find that she is none other than Polly. The movie ends with Parvan enveloping Polly in a tight embrace, their reunion marking the fulfillment of his long-held dreams and prayers.